Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. September 14th, 2017.
105 here on the great WRKO. Okay, my friends, very close now to a final agreement, a final deal on amnesty for the so-called Dreamers. Trump refuses to call it an amnesty, but essentially here are now the outlines. According to a meeting late last night with Pelosi and Schumer, then Trump called Ryan and Mitch McConnell. All of them are now essentially on board for this framework or outline. Some kind of legalized status for all 800,000 of the so-called young illegal immigrants brought in here by their parents, the Dreamers, the DACA beneficiaries, plus their parents, the DREAM Act. It will be about 2 million in all. In exchange for giving them permanent legal status to stay in America, which includes access to Medicare, cash assistance, welfare, in-state tuition, and as I've pointed out in the last hour, many of them do work, they have been paying taxes, they are entitled to back tax refunds. We're going to be cutting some serious checks, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. In exchange for all of this, Trump says he wants massive border security funding. To me, I think these are scraps off the table, a token to say he got something, but he says he wants big border security funding, drones, assets, more border patrol agents, however, no wall. The wall, he says, will come later, down the road. Listen to the president today before he left to visit Florida, surveying the damage of Hurricane Irma. Roll it, Brittany.
Well, we're working on a plan subject to getting massive border control. We're working on a plan for DACA. People want to see that happen. You have 800,000 young people brought here, no fault of their own. So we're working on a plan. We'll see how it works out. But we're going to get massive border security as part of that. And I think something can happen. We'll see what happens. But something will happen. The wall will come later. We're right now renovating large sections of wall. Both Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, I think they agree with it. But I think we're fairly close, but we have to get massive border security. 92% of the people agree on DACA. But what we want is we want very, very powerful border security. Ryan and McConnell agree with us on DACA. We're very much on board. I spoke to them, yes.
617-266-6868. To me, this is a potentially horrible deal if they go through with it. I think it is a betrayal. It is a capitulation, and it will eventually blow up Trump's base and maybe lead to the creation of a new party. That is my opinion. 617-266-6868. Is he now Amnesty Dawn, as Breitbart calls him, or is he now the ultimate deal maker? You can also text us at 680-680. And I got to tell you, the texts are, I've never seen the text machine this lit up. They are coming in fast and furious. 508, Jeff, today I fully drop my support for Trump and the Republicans. Third party, here I come. 781, Jeff, bottom line, Trump is a lifelong Democratic progressive New Yorker. 978, Trump is now going to be a one-term president. Another 978, Jeff, I'm furious. This is actually from my sister-in-law, by the way, like me, a legal immigrant, came to the United States legally from Canada, rarely texts into the show. Jeff, I am absolutely disgusted, furious. He is a traitor. He is a Judas. I am done with him. I want a full, real conservative party. We have to go third party. Ay. She's pretty, Lori's pretty hot under the collar. Okay, lines are loaded. Hillary, you're up first. Go ahead, Hillary.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi.
I noticed that he said through no fault of their own. Well, it certainly wasn't the American people's fault either, so that doesn't really cut any mustard with me. I feel like I've just been kicked in the gut, and it is a complete betrayal. And with the talk of a third party, a lot of you guys don't seem to understand. Once he does this, we have to hold his feet to the fire, because this is the last peaceful solution. You can talk about a third party, but by that time it'll be too late. Once these people have been amnestied, we're talking, we're not just talking them, we're talking their family members and everybody else coming in, and we're pretty close now to the tipping point where, any conservative is never going to be able to win a majority in a general election again by the time they're done. And can I just make a comment about what Grace had mentioned?
Yes, go ahead. Shoot.
Well, you had brought this up before, that, if he would have stuck with us, we would have his back, because you said you suffered professionally for defending him. I think a lot of us did. And if he just would have stuck with us, if they tried to impeach him, they would have paid. There would have been hell to pay for them, for the Democrats and the establishment Republicans. Plus, he could have switch things around, like you had mentioned, getting Sessions in another post and getting someone else who hadn't recused themselves and gotten rid of Mueller. He could have undone all this stuff. So the fact that he's scared about being, impeached, I don't know. I mean, that would be, if that's the reason, it's a pretty lame reason to betray all of us who gave so much to
Amen.
See this guy get elected.
Amen. Hillary, I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you for that call. Look, I think it's clear what's going on here, okay? It's obvious, and there are numerous media reports confirming this, but I didn't need to cite them to you because it's like saying the sky is blue. Bannon himself even had said this. He admitted this. In the administration, there are essentially now two camps. There was, you want to call it the Bannon camp, the America First camp, the populist camp, the nationalist camp, the conservative camp, whatever you want to call it, okay? And this is my camp. And this was the advice they were giving the president. And I think this would have made him a transformational president. Campaign and govern on your America First agenda. On the wall, on immigration, on trade, on foreign policy. As Bannon put it, punch them out, quote unquote. Just punch them out, one after another. And so you build on your base. You build on your coalition. And I believe had he followed that strategy, then he would have expanded his base to becoming a permanent majority in the country. You build a wall, you deport the illegals, you crack down on sanctuary cities, you got rid of TPP, you get rid of NAFTA, you start protecting jobs here at home, the RAISE Act, legal immigration, you cut that in half, that boosts wages for workers. In other words, you become the pro-working middle-class party and movement of the country. Pennsylvania is yours forever. Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, the Democrats, you would essentially have a permanent America First majority. Camp. And people mention Ivanka, but it's really Jared. Yeah, she just sides with her husband, but he thinks he's the Svengali of the administration. And the Jared camp, the liberal Democratic camp, and that's Gary Cohn and all these other guys, but it's Jared, he's the big mastermind. You've got to work with the Democrats. You've got to work with the establishment. What matters is being, quote, bipartisan. Cutting bipartisan deals. So, raise the debt ceiling, work with them. Get rid of the debt ceiling even, work with them. Massive deficits, work with them. Tax reform, work with them. Amnesty, DACA, work with them. Now, my fear is, and you can already notice he cited this, I don't know where he got this 92% support for DACA. My fear is this. Now he's starting to feel the love a little bit. Now, notice the Democrats, even the mainstream media, whoa! Now, he's not Hitler all of a sudden. Notice, he's not a neo-Nazi now. He's not KKK, white supremacist. And so his advisors, Kushner in particular, Jared, are telling him, look, the American people want these bipartisan deals. That's going to suck them into the swamp even more. It's going to make him think, yeah, this is the path to me becoming successful. And what he doesn't see happening is that the left hates him. And the Democrats are setting a trap. And so are the Rhino Republicans, Ryan and McConnell. And when they go after him, and they will go after him to finish him, he won't have his base to rely on. In other words, this new support that he's getting, it's skin deep. It's superficial. They're lying to his face. And the guy that I ultimately blame, of course, is him, because he's getting suckered in by this. But really, Jared Kushner. Javanka. Jared, through his daughter, who's his favorite, no matter what, he can't say no to her. I know this because everybody has told me this. Okay, I know this for a fact. She's got him wrapped around her little finger. She's daddy's little girl. And it's through Jared Kushner. And I said this from the beginning. Remember, what did I say? I said this. I said, I swear to you like I'm in the confessional. The deep state cannot bury him. The Democrats cannot defeat him. The rhinos cannot, in the end, obstruct him. He can win. The real cancer on it's not Russia. It's not Mueller. The real cancer on his presidency is Jared Kushner. It's Javanka. And he's on the verge now, I think, of getting fatal cancer. Terminal cancer. Because if he signs this deal, I don't think I don't see how you go back. I don't know. I may be wrong. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. Ray on Route 93. Go ahead, Ray.
Hey, three things now that I'm trying to remember. Number one, someone should tell them how Ted Kennedy and the Democrats lied through their teeth and screwed Ronald Reagan. Number one. They never got anything they were supposed to get. Number two, 800,000 DACA people, based on experience, I went through the illegal immigration thing with somebody. That will be 10 times because all of their family members are going to be eligible to come to this country by filling out a form.
Yes. Nobody
talks about that. Number three, everybody that's threatening to go to a third party, let me give you some facts. You're done. The liberals and Democrats will run this country and ruin this country forever. So that is a fallacy. No third party is going to accomplish anything. And number four, if Grace is correct, based on my paying attention, there will be an armed revolt in this country.
I hope not. I hope not, but thank you for that call, Ray. Steve in Braintree. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Jeff, how are you? We've had a few intellectual discussions about this, and you're totally off the rails. Let's just look at what happens here. If he doesn't make a deal on these DACA kids, and let's be honest here, it doesn't matter whether some of them are, in the program, some of them are educated, this 92% doesn't matter. He will get crucified. The first story that comes out right before the 2018 midterms of this wonderful 23-year-old valedictorian who's afraid of getting on a plane. You got to look at this from the politics of it and stop with the whole doctrinaire, conservative, we have to get this done. These kids were never going anywhere. They don't have a life in Mexico or down in South America. You can't put them on a plane and send them where they never lived. I get it. I'm not happy about it either. But in the same way we don't want to pay the price for our ancestors in slavery, you're not going to have them pay the price for something their foolish parents did. They are not getting citizenship right away, so they will not be voting unless it's going to be one of these illegal things, which we can't stop anyways. They're going to be on a path to citizenship that's likely 10 years down the road. Any relatives they bring in are going to be on a path to citizenship a decade down the road. And as statistics bear out, and these are actually educated young males or young females, they're going to be more conservative as they start raising families. You know what happened to the Cubans. This is a similar situation. I think you're going off the rails here. Just help me understand this.
Well, number one, the average age, they came between 12 and 18. So this idea that they can't remember the country they came from, that's a lie. I'm not saying you're lying. I'm saying that's the lie that the media is peddling, number one. Number two, look, Steve, I think you're claiming that I'm being doctrinaire. I'm not being doctrinaire. I'm being as human as I possibly can. Let me tell you what the effect of this will be. And I think everybody has to realize this. I'm telling you, this is how I feel, and you can try to talk me out of it all you want. I'm a sucker. Do you understand that? I'm a sucker.
But what
and
do you
all
want
of
him
the
to do,
millions
Jeff?
of legal immigrants like me are suckers. Because what you're doing now is you're telling us that the rule of law doesn't matter. What you're telling me is you're an idiot for having followed the rules. You're an idiot for having paid all those lawyer fees. You're an idiot for having gone through that process. Because what you're telling the world is, hey, don't go the legal way, come in the illegal way. And that's how you're going to get a straight path to amnesty. So let me tell you how you do this, Steve. You want to talk policy? Let's talk policy. You build the wall. In other words, you stop the problem. You stop the bleeding and the hemorrhaging. First, as the Hippocratic Oath says, first do no harm. Stop the harm. So you seal the border off. Then you close in on sanctuary cities. You clean out the sanctuary cities. Then you send back all the violent illegal criminals. And then, once you've settled the problem, then you start having a discussion about these so-called dreamers. But what Trump and the establishment are doing, and what you're condoning, I'm being honest with you, is the exact reverse. So the American people are saying, the wall's never going to get built. The border's going to remain porous. And now that we've given amnesty to 2 million illegals, the other 10, 12 million, it's inevitable. It's coming. The stone's been cracked. So what happens now is you are essentially paving the way for this country to be ruptured and divided on a permanent basis. I'm telling you, that's the cost of amnesty. Am I wrong?
Jeff, the border crossings are down 70%.
For now.
What if he gets $1 billion? You know, the Democrats will never let you call it a wall. You could call it a flying purple people eater and construct whatever you want down there. Just don't call it the wall. And they can go to their base and say, we stopped the wall. Meanwhile, he's building electronic fences. He's building things with drones. He's putting people down there that it's going to be very hard to fire and change course on. And illegal immigration could be down 85% in his first 2 to 3 years.
For now.
He's eliminated the problem. But wait, plus he needs to fund this hurricane relief. He can't have that held up or he's going to get crucified.
He's gotten that. He doesn't need to give DACA. But he doesn't have to give DACA amnesty for that. He's got it.
He got it because he agreed to work with them. If they didn't, they would
He agreed. No, Steve, please. He agreed with them to do a CR for 3 months and to raise the debt ceiling for 3 months. The hurricane relief is coming.
Jeff.
What?
It's only 3 months. He didn't give him 18 months. He didn't eliminate the debt.
I know, but
too hard on the guy.
I know.
I don't want to defend illegal immigration.
No, but I know. But Steve, you're now comparing. Steve, you're now comparing apples and oranges. The relief money's being sent to Hurricane Harvey. The relief money's going to be sent to Hurricane Irma. That's done. You don't need to do DACA to get that. So the question I'm asking you is this. You think if there's, let's say, a Democrat in 2020, you think those drones aren't going to be pulled back? You think those Border Patrol agents aren't going to be pulled back? And I don't know what fences you're talking about, because so far he hasn't built a single fence.
He can't get any money, Jeff. They won't give him the money.
He has the money in Homeland. He has the money in Homeland Security and the defense budget.
That Homeland Security
He doesn't want to pull the trigger.
Because he wants a wall. He doesn't want a fence. He's afraid of how it looks.
I know. So take $10 billion from the defense budget and build a wall. That's okay.
Just reappropriate money. Come on, Jeff. Now we're just being crazy. You've got to give the guy a break.
What are you talking about? He can appropriate the defense budget for any cause that he wants if he deems it in national security. Seriously, do you know what you're talking about? So he can appropriate money for North Korea. He can appropriate money for Iraq or Syria. He can't appropriate it for our border wall? This is unbelievable. Brian in Methuen. Go ahead, Brian.
Jeff, how are you today, my friend?
Good. How are you, Brian?
I'm doing marvelous. It's always good to hear you all day. I look forward to your show.
Thank you, Brian.
But I've got a couple of things. One of them, the question that is in my mind, are we sure it's not part of a bigger plan? Down the road with time, that he may be able to work this wall in. Although, having said that, Jeff, I have one more thing. I really don't think the wall's the answer. I don't think it's the answer. The answer might be in a big, giant facility all over the country to hold these people and make it as miserable as possible to deter them from coming here, letting them know that you come here, that's where you're going. That's where you're staying. You got a choice. You go back to your country or you're in the can. You're not going out on the street. You're not going to live here. You can live in the prison, but that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. The wall, I mean, to me it almost seems, like Mission Impossible. You know how big that wall is going to have to be?
Brian, it can be done. It's been done, frankly, in many other countries. We can definitely do it. The Romans built a wall. The Chinese built a big wall. It only cost about $10-12 billion. No, we can, Brian, think about it. We could send a man to the moon. We can conquer entire countries. We can conquer entire continents. But we can't build a wall? It's the same thing when people call and go, we can't deport these dreamers. Oh, my God, they're not going back. Why? Why can't we deport them back? No, let me give you an example. Do you know how many young Irish teenagers and young adults who came here illegally? There's a small illegal Irish population. They get deported all the time. Here, I know some Croatians in the Croatian American community who came to America illegally. They came very young. Their parents brought them in illegally. They deported their rear ends right back to the old country. So if we can do it to the Croatians and we can do it to the Irish, why can't we do it to these so-called dreamers? I'll tell you why. Because they're overwhelmingly Hispanic and they're part of a powerful and large voting bloc. That's why. Deport their rear ends right back to Mexico.
WRKO, the voice of Boston.
136 here on the great WRKO. Okay, my friends, continue to take your call, 617-266-6868. Oh, yeah, thank you, Jerry. Thanks for reminding me. Okay, we're opening up the WRKO box office. Be the sixth caller in right now, 617-266-6868 to win a pair of tickets to see Michael Carbonaro at the Wilbur on November 25th. You get more info at thewilbur.com. So be the sixth caller in right now, 617-266-6868 to win a pair of tickets to see Michael Carbonaro at the Wilbur on November 28th. Okay. It's one of the phrases that I coined. I don't patent it. Yeah, I don't have a patent on it. You want to use it, please go ahead and use it. The first socialist was Satan. The first rhino was Judas. And you've seen this now with Paul Rhino Ryan. You've seen it now with Mitch McConnell. You've seen this, we saw it with Scott Brown. We saw it with Mitt Romney. We've seen it now with Charlie Baker here in this state, again and again and again. And let me just say this, okay? I've never cared for the Boston Herald. They are part of the Never Trump Republicans who despise conservatives, despise nationalists, despise America Firsters, despise constitutionalists. They are essentially a rhino rag. But just when I thought they could not go any lower, you want to talk about a shock last night. It wasn't just Trump's supposed pending deal on DACA amnesty with the new dream team, with him, Chuck, and Nancy. It's what they're doing to Holly Robichaud and Jeff Deal. And as you know, Jeff Deal was even on our show just yesterday. He is a solid conservative. He was co-chair of the Trump Massachusetts campaign. He is for secure borders. He wants to build a wall. He wants to crack down on illegal immigration. He wants to repeal Obamacare. And yes, he wants to cut taxes for middle working class people like you and me. And in particular, as we discussed yesterday, Jeff Deal now is helping to spearhead a petition drive so we can put on the ballot in November that there will be a reduction in the sales tax here in Massachusetts for all of us, and to make the sales tax holiday for retailers in August permanent. It's a winning issue. It pits the people versus the elites. The Democrats and the liberals will not be able to fight us on this issue, at least effectively. And it shows the rhinos to be the craven cowards that they are. Because all they're interested in, frankly, is power and money. They want that money. They don't want to lose even get a 1% cut in the sales tax. They want as much of our money as possible. And so now, seeing that Jeff Deal's campaign for the Senate is now taking off, that there's strong grassroots support and it's building and building and building, now the Herald tries to do a hatchet job on Deal. The problem is, he's so freaking squeaky clean, they can't go after him. So instead, they go after one of his top strategists, and you know her. She's a friend of mine, Holly Robichaud. I've had her on the show a few times. She's one of their best and few, there's Howie. There's really just a handful of real conservative columnists left at the Boston Herald. And so, believe it or not, they now have gone after one of their own. And so she temporarily left her job. She stepped away temporarily to be the strategist for Jeff Deal's Senate campaign. And of course, she's the one giving him a lot of these sort of conservative ideas or strategies on how to take it to the rhinos and take it to the Dems and to the Libs and to Elizabeth Warren. So, she's on leave. Well, listen now to this. On page 2 of today's Herald, and they splashed it big last night, they have now done a hatchet piece saying that Holly Robichaud, when she was a political consultant a couple years ago, worked for Saudi Arabia in their lobbying effort to kill the law. Remember the law that would allow the families of the victims of 9/11 to sue foreign governments, especially Saudi Arabia? So they claim that she worked for a lobbying firm that tried to kill the bill. Now, they cite as their evidence that she did do some political consulting work. She apparently, it's the lobbying firm MSL Group Americas, Inc. She was paid a whopping $12,000 for her work. Now, as she states, and others who were part of this effort, these veteran groups, in fact, she wasn't working to kill the bill. She was working to reform the bill, along with the American Legion and veterans of foreign wars, because the bill would open up agreements that could possibly lead to U.S. service members being sued for, say, their actions in Afghanistan or in Iraq or wherever. And so, but that doesn't matter. The fact is they're trying to tie her to the Saudi lobby, listen to this, and claim since she was paid $12,000 that she's in the back pocket of Saudi Arabia, and by extension, here it comes, if she's supposedly in the back pocket of Saudi Arabia, guess what? Jeff Deal is in the back pocket of Saudi Arabia. So they can't smear Jeff Deal, they have to go for a staffer. And so what they've done is that they even put a big picture of Holly, and right beside Holly is Jeff Deal. So it's wink, wink. It's what they did to Trump during the campaign, all these never Trump Republicans. Smear, smear, smear. Innuendo, innuendo, innuendo. So we can't get Deal, so we go after Holly Robichaud. Now, a couple of points need to be said. Number one, I never liked taking money from a Saudi firm or a lobbying firm. I wouldn't have done it, but that's her business. Let me just tell you this, okay? I know what lobbyists make in Washington, D.C. $12,000 is tipping money. It's a pittance. It's a spit. It's nothing. So if they think that $12,000 buys you somebody, then really the Herald really has become a college newspaper. Okay, it's a real rag. But more than that, let's cut to the chase. If they had such a problem with her, how come they kept her on staff for how many years? If they had such a problem with this so-called her political consulting work, if this was somehow so sleazy, seditious, treasonous, under the table, so despicable and deplorable, Why did you keep her? Why did you hire her and run her column week after week after week, year after year after year? It obviously wasn't a problem for you all these years you ran her column. So the question is now, why? Why are you now eating your own, eating your young? And I'll tell you why. Because the owner, Pat Purcell, and the upper editors at the Boston Herald are friends of Mitt Romney. They're, in fact, they're personal good friends of Mitt Romney, and they're very close with Charlie Baker. They're in bed with the Rhino establishment. And they don't want Jeff Deal to win. And so they're now using this newspaper to now, as a bludgeon, to go after conservatives in this state, especially serious conservatives like Jeff Deal, because they're now they want Beth Lindstrom to win. Or Kingston. They either want Kingston or Lindstrom to win. And so they fear Jeff. They fear his support, his growing popularity, and what's really the issue here? It's not just that Jeff Deal has a real shot of defeating Elizabeth Warren. It's that even if he loses, he will lose by 1 or 2, 3 percentage points. In other words, this will be one hell of a competitive race. And it signals that the conservatives are now taking over the Massachusetts Republican Party. And that's the one thing they don't want. And if that means throwing a former colleague under the bus, if that means smearing somebody that's worked with you for God knows how many years, good, loyal, devoted service, hey, the first socialist was Satan. The first rhino was Judas. They kiss you on the cheek, Holly, and they tell you how much they love you, and then they stick the knife right into your back. I am done with the Herald. They should be ashamed of themselves. To me, they are now nothing more than a useless rhino rag. And I hope, my friends, that everybody out there, if you do have a subscription, cancel your subscription. It's time to teach these rhinos a lesson. We are sick of your thuggery and your intimidation tactics and your smears. We're done. 617-266-6868 is the number. Joining us now, by the way, is the woman in the center of the storm, Holly Robichaud. Holly, how are you? Were you shocked to see your face and name being there in the Boston Herald and them now smearing and going after you?
Well, I was kind of heartbroken after all the years that I worked for the Herald and thought I deserved a little bit better. I just can't. It was devastating to me that they would be so aggressive against me, and obviously try to spin the story and really go after me like that. It was very hurtful.
Holly, I mean, you had worked with them for many, many years. You were a long time.
Over 10 years.
Over 10 years. You were a long-time columnist, a long-time contributor. They knew about your work as a political consultant. If that $12,000 bothered them so much, did they ever talk about that with you? Did they ever raise that issue with you and say, Holly, you may have crossed the line. We're going to have to let you go?
No, actually, when every time when I've worked with the Herald, they always knew that I had other outside income, and and if I ever thought that was a conflict of interest, there was always a discussion about that, and they said that they always knew that I made a living outside of writing for the Boston Herald. So I'm just a little surprised because this did happen when I was working for the Herald. So.
Well, I mean, $12,000, Holly, that's big money. Hey, tell me, when am I going to be invited to that mansion of yours that the $12,000 paid for, Holly?
Yeah, no, there's no mansion. Just a lot of hard work and just an average person.
Now, Holly, I have to ask you this. Why would the Herald do this? Why? Why would they go after you like this?
Well, I think what the situation is look, Jeff is really catching on momentum, and I think, one, that Jeff, there's nothing out there on Jeff Deal, so that they're coming after me. And this isn't the first attack that has been perpetuated on me. I'm just surprised about the Herald picking up on it. But as you know, that there was people were saying, out there that I was sleeping with somebody at RKO, which was not true. There's been a number of different things that have come after me, and they're going after me instead of Jeff, which shows you, how squeaky clean Jeff is. Look, I'm a consultant, and so sure, people aren't always going to agree with me. And as a consultant, a lot of times you have to do some hard things. And so, of course, people are going to come after me, but it's not my name on the ballot. It's Jeff Deal. Jeff Deal has done so much for the state. And at the end of the day, look, he can win this race, because he's the only one that's put money into people's pockets. Elizabeth Warren has ignored the state, has done nothing for the state, and people know that, look, at the end of the day, people vote their pocketbooks, and Jeff Deal is the most dangerous Republican candidate out there for defeating Elizabeth Warren. Furthermore, I was the one who exposed the whole superdelegate situation that was going on. You might remember that a couple of weeks ago there was an effort to not only, first it was 700, that they wanted to add 700 superdelegates to the convention so that they controlled the convention. And then there was even another proposal suggested that they would try to get another 800 superdelegates. And basically this was all being done to try to keep Jeff Deal off the ballot by rigging the convention. And I'm the one who spoke up about it.
Incredible.
Okay? And there was a lot of pushback, and I have to say, one of the emails that went around about me and going after me was started with one of the people that proposed the superdelegate increase. So, and I know they don't like that I'm going to speak out, and I'm going to, and stand up for Jeff and say that that's wrong, but I think that's one of the reasons. And Jeff is picking up a lot of momentum, and they're just trying to do everything possible to throw a roadblock in him. They don't want Elizabeth Warren out of office. They want her there, and Jeff is going to defeat her.
Holly, I'm really up against it. Look, I think it's obvious the Boston Herald is a rhino media outlet. It's a rhino rag. It just is. And this was a rhino hit piece, a hatchet job on you and through you to get to Jeff Deal. Very quickly, my understanding is Jeff Deal supported the bill that was passed by Congress, correct?
Yes.
So what your work did or your position is irrelevant, because whatever the reason is, it doesn't really matter at this point. Jeff Deal clearly supported the bill, so whatever your views are irrelevant because he's the candidate. So what's the issue here? Where's the influence? I don't see it.
There is none, okay? And furthermore, Jeff, I did support the bill. I supported amending it so that we could protect our military servicemen and women. Okay, I agree with the VFW and the American Legion that there is some problems with the bill, and it just needs a couple amendments so that our servicemen, when they're serving overseas, are not subject to lawsuit. And we can't have our military members putting their lives on the line, and also having their finances risked as well. I mean, so I just, that's why I did it. I wouldn't have,
Holly, I know you. I know you. I know you're not a fifth columnist or an agent for the Saudis. And for your own paper to have implied that and smeared you like that, let me be honest, it was disgusting. It was disgusting. It was deplorable, and they should be ashamed of themselves. Holly, I have to go. Keep up the good fight. Hang tough. It shows they fear you, Holly, and it shows they fear Jeff. Keep on punching.
Thank you, my friend.
God bless you. 617-266-6868. More with your calls. Next. John, you're up first. Go ahead, John.
Good afternoon, Mr. Kuhner. How are you?
Good. How are you, John?
Well, thank you. I know you're right up against it, so I'll say this quick. All we heard after the November election was how the Democrats needed to do a reboot, that they're just how they did things didn't work. That was just all smoke and mirrors, because this is it. So obviously we're doing the right thing. So now they're going to attack Holly Robichaux. They can't attack Jeff, so they're going to try to attack Holly. This is going to be the drip, drip, drip like they tried with President Trump. It's going to be something new every other week. And then, it's like the Alinsky narrative. Make something up today or exaggerate something today, and when everyone figures out it's nonsense, we'll come up with something else.
Bingo. Bingo. Cancel your subscription to the Herald. I'm done.
The voice of Boston is you. 680 WRKO Boston, 93.7 WEEI HD2 Lawrence, Boston. It's 2 o'clock.